Marvel is dead. Okay, how the boys destroyed the Marvel forever. I think, in my opinion, Marvel is not dead, first of all. Second of all, I think the MCU is dying. The MCU is dying because we are talking about the boys. We're not talking about comic books or anything like that, because if we are talking about Marvel, then we are talking about animation and all these kind of things as a whole. And again, across the Spider-Verse, even though like Sony movie, whatever, the thing is, at the end of the day, Miles Morales is a Marvel character. Anyway, let's just watch this movie. The video.
All spectacle with no actual substance. This is the reality of predictable formulaic, all spectacle with no actual substance. This is the reality of the post-Endgame Marvel Cinematic Universe. And nothing makes this more clear than watching The Boys, a morally complex drama with realistic characters and its biting satire are killing the MCU. When it was released in 2019, Boys reinvented
Again, I don't think The Boys are killing the MCU. I think MCU is doing it on their own. I mean, if MCU is doing its thing like it did, before Endgame, I don't think, I'm not saying that, Thor and the Dark World was really amazing or something like that, but still, most movies were either meh or really amazing, or at least watchable, right? Nowadays, it's not even watchable anymore. Like, who cares about the most amazing CGI fest that people are doing these days? And nowadays, the CGI is also bad. Again, these people do not have the people who are doing the VFX and CGI. It's not their fault. It is not their fault at all. Marvel is just pumping left and right. I mean, I didn't even watch Moon Knight. Even though people said it was really good and all that. I didn't even watch that. So why would I even watch WandaVision or anything like that? So stuff like that. I don't think WandaVision was really terrible, but just saying. It's just too much.
By asking one simple
even
question, what would a world with superpowers really look like? Well, it's not a pretty picture. The heroes are steeped in corruption, threatening, abusing, or murdering whoever they want. Meanwhile, their crimes are covered up and hidden by the mega corporation Vault, which uses money and power to stay in control. The main characters are a group of outcasts, whose lives were torn apart by the system.
Well, the boys were not, in the comic books, they were not really good either. But in this, again, the thing is that the boys' comics were also very edgy, written by a guy who hates superheroes. So it's really ridiculous again, we're talking about the boys' TV show and MCU as a whole. So, in this version, I think they have been given justice. I definitely think so.
Desperately trying to fight. The show makes it clear that it's a satire of modern superheroes across the board. The main villain, Homelander, is a clear example, a warped and twisted analogue of Superman, who takes glee in violence and cruelty. But just like everything in The Boys, he's not black and white. Homelander isn't just another evil Superman, like the character from Injustice. He's been traumatized, raised in a lab, and isolated from anything that even looks like a real family. He's desperate for love and attention, while seeing everyone as either beneath him or not worth anything at all. And he's not just violent to achieve his goals, he's violent because he's got a hair-trigger temper and the emotional maturity of a teenager. In short, he's a deep and intricate character, and just one of the many examples for why The Boys is destroying the MCU. The past few years haven't been kind to Disney's money-printing machine, with just a few
if I have
exceptions.
to talk about video games, I think there were times when we were just playing video games mindlessly, and then many games came out which actually had amazing story. If we have to think about amazing story, or at least believable characters or very likable characters in the same game, and all of them are very memorable, I think I can think about The Witcher 3. Absolutely. The Witcher 3 nowadays, Witcher 3 came in when 2015? It's not that just Witcher 3 alone. Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood. The thing is, we were playing games back then for fun, and why not, right? But then people started to incorporate in, stories and stuff, and meticulously they were trying to make sure that, the story is nice as well. And that was something, I think why I'm saying this is because I have heard the same sentiment of The Witcher 3 as well, that Witcher 3 has ruined gaming for me. And I think one of the biggest reasons why is because of the story, because of the protagonist, Geralt. And not only for protagonist, the side characters as well, and all of these things, man. So this is the same thing.
Like the Spider-Man sequels, the Marvel films released after Endgame have been commercial and creative disasters. Poor writing has plagued them all, with focus group characters acting out.
This movie was trash. This movie was trash.
formulaic plotlines which lack any real tension, and The Boys has shown audiences just how compelling the genre can be. Alongside other shows like Invincible, it pushed the genre forward, and most importantly, it matured with.
I still remember watching these
Alongside other
hands.
shows like Invincible, it pushed the genre forward.
Like this,
and most
this screams silicone, man. I'm sorry. I mean, the makeup and all these kind of things are being done pretty well, but the way that the hand is just like this and not like this, you know, it's touched. It is attached with the bone, right? So I think it should have just flopped, but that's just like a small nitpick. Just
Importantly, it matured with its audience.
And it's so
for all
wobbly,
the people
right?
who've been following Marvel films for over a decade, it's like a breath of fresh air. The Boys took the best parts of the MCU that people loved and made it even better. It took the parts that people don't like and made fun of them. The Boys excel at poking fun at the world we live in though, not just Marvel
I'm not
films.
gonna say Boys made it better. I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's kind of like recency biasness that, you know, just because you don't like the MCU now. I mean, back then, I still remember PewDiePie talking about how I don't like Marvel, and a lot of people, you know, made a controversy about this. It's kind of like that as well. When Marvel was at their peak, still there were people out there who are annoyed by the fact that there were new Marvel movies that are gonna come up. So it's either way like that, man. But I kind of agree, I half agree with this.
Its commentary on them flows naturally as a result of what it says about society. The endgame scene was just pandering and laughably obvious. It's presented as if it's something revolutionary, like they're proving something about how strong women
Oh
really
yeah,
are.
when this first came, when I was watching it, I didn't really mind, but then slowly I was realizing how like pathetic it was.
The scene was made fun of around the world, and the Boys didn't pull any punches.
They also had their
But before we continue,
they also had their own thing as well. You know, the girls get it done scene. You know, when Stormfront was kicked and punched.
I want to talk about a video sponsor. Have you ever Googled yourself and were shocked to see your personal information exposed on one of those public listing sites? Data brokers are making a fortune selling your information to robocallers, spammers, and others who want to learn more about you, like where you live. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your info and submit
I'm taking
opt-out
his
requests
content
on
at the
your
end of the
behalf.
day.
Now, brokers are
I'm
legally
not gonna
required to
skip
remove
through
your
this
info
ad.
if you ask them to. But if they make it super hard to do, let Aura handle it for you. And you can try Aura for free for 2 weeks using my link. Aura also does so much to protect you and your family from online threats you can't see. It's super easy to set up, and you don't have to download several different apps to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and more. Instead, you get everything in one at an affordable price. So let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online so that you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. You can either let people continue to exploit and profit off your private information, or you can go to aura.com/moon to start your 2-week free trial. Also linked down in the description below. They didn't even need to change the scene at all to parody it. It's ridiculous enough.
It's ridiculous.
The best satire and parody though doesn't just work as a
This was
collection of
exactly what
jokes.
I was
You
talking
still
about.
need the substance, and the Boys did this and more, giving us an actually satisfying and hilarious girl power scene without a single ounce of cringe. Instead of the orchestral swell and the generic bad guys to crush, it's a real fight against a powerful villain with fitting music. It actually has meaning for the plot. It's pretty much better in every way.
I don't remember the
difference is
music,
all in the
but-
meanings behind the scenes. Endgame scenes fell flat.
Very,
because it was
very
completely
flat.
hollow. Corporations don't care about girl power at all. They're just using it to appeal to different groups of people. Disney put that
Exactly.
scene in to
No
do
shit.
exactly that. It's the same reason they're ruining Snow
Oh.
White. The hypocrisy is what really defines it, and The Boys does a great job of showing this. Just like real companies, Vought makes every effort to
Oh
make
yeah,
its
the way
publicity
that they have changed the fucking what was her name? Starlight's costume, which kind of, you know, made a little bit sexy kind of look, and she didn't like it.
conscious and inclusive as possible.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
all for the image, of course, a cover for the awful abuses of power that are scenes. The show even goes into how a politically correct environment doesn't actually
I
help
didn't know
anyone,
about this.
and it can actively be used against people. Mivi, a bisexual superheroine on the show, has her identity used against her when Homelander forces her to come out on live TV.
Yes.
We have a gay hero. Queen.
Live TV. Preaching to get away with things all the time.
Sorry,
It's a
the
part of what The
internet
Boys
was
is
a little bit
satirizing.
buffering.
Disney makes grand overtures
this one.
about gay rights, all while censoring and selling their films to Russia and the Middle East, censoring any gay scenes
Yeah, they cut
possible.
that scene
Nestle used the
from,
Rainforest Alliance to
Lightyear.
quietly sweep under the rug their breaking of all their connections with fair trade. The Boys' point here is that powerful people and organizations, which have no sympathy for the lives they ruin, will latch on to any hot issue to distract you from their own crimes.
We won't need a day to prove we're just as fast or strong or skilled.
This symbolism runs throughout the show. Homelander and the other superheroes are literally representations of the power that some people have. The deaths and suffering they cause is far greater than anything Homelander ever did on the show. But just like the famous quote says, at some point,
yeah, the pandering and all that, Jesus Christ. I mean, you can clearly see that these people who are making these advertisements, they don't care. They literally don't care. What they care about is just money. And see, this is what I don't like. You know what I mean?
From personal tragedies into statistics. Butcher's speech to Huey towards the beginning of the show lays it all out. People don't cause a fuss because they don't want to listen. Abuses of power happen. People die for corporations as bottom lines all the time. But as Butcher says,
it's collateral damage.
It's part of the plan and the world moves on without noticing. The boys systematically pick
not without noticing. It's just that people would avoid because they don't want any part of this. They don't want really a lot of trouble.
We see the violence and it affects us because it's direct. Homelander does it himself, rather than signing some document which eventually leads to people losing their lives. With just a few degrees of separation, it all gets easier to ignore. It's not the only way that The Boys is far more connected to the world we live in. It actually creates a compelling and uncertain narrative, which is most visible in the overall story. You know who's going to come out on top in a Marvel film. The heroes always win. The movie begins, they play up one character flaw that often isn't really
again, you have to have a certain mold that somebody has already made. Like the thing is, the Marvel movies or the MCU movies have been made, okay? They have been made, and now you got the reference that, oh, these movies are kind of the same. So what you get is that I have to make it better. So it is true, absolutely right. But again, I'm not trying to suck Marvel's glizzy over here or ride it. I'm just saying as unbiased as possible, because if the heroes don't win, but the thing is, we already know that who's gonna win, which he just literally just mentioned. What I'm trying to say is that we just want to see how they win. And that's the fun of it. You know what I mean? I don't want, in an Iron Man movie, I don't want him to lose, you know? And it's just something that is just common sense. I mean, why would I want him to lose? But if you make that hero lose, I want to see how he lost. Because here's the thing, right? Even in The Boys, you have Billy Butcher, and Billy Butcher is actually getting the thing that he wants. I mean, if we look at Billy Butcher as the hero, then he is getting what he's wanting. There are many heroes, let's just say Translucent. Translucent is dead. Many other heroes that he wanted, all the soups. So he's able to, like, this is something that is, you know, impossible really. But the thing is, he's able to do so much, and he is able to manipulate these soups and all these kind of things, and he is literally able to kill with his own hands as well because of the, you know, the shots he's taking, you know, the compound V, but it's like only works for like 24 hours or something like that. So those kind of things, right? So even in The Boys, if you look at him as a protagonist or The Boys as a group, then they are kind of succeeding at what they want to do.
Villain turns up, gets the conflict going, and the heroes overcome their trials and finally emerge victorious.
Again, the name of the show is also The Boys, okay, not Billy Butcher or anything like that. And again, there are nuance with soups as well. Queen Maeve, Starlight, they're good. So yeah,
it's a formula that they have used over and over again, making it the junk food of cinema. But for many, this is satisfying enough. Infinity War was so successful because it reinvented this formula. They made Thanos the hero of his own story, and he actually won in the end. The amount of discussion online and the fever around the movie was insane, but it was a one-time thing, and since then, Marvel's villains and their plotlines have retreated back into their predictable formula. Whereas The Boys is so effective because you have no idea what's actually going to happen in an episode. The Boys don't always win. In fact, they normally lose. They don't have superpowers or billions of dollars like their adversaries.
I don't know about the normally lose, but yeah, I think I have to watch the show once again, I think.
The odds
probably
are
have
always
missed
firmly
something.
against them.
But still, they're
anyway.
progressing. I'm not saying that, you know, they don't like lose, but again, it's like a TV show, right? It's not really an excuse that they're a TV show or something like that. What I'm trying to say is that they're progressing. Once in a while they have bumps, but they're progressing. That's what I'm saying.
which makes them far more heroic than any other overpowered Marvel hero. The plot doesn't play out to hit the specific notes of the superhero movie. The characters made their own decisions, motivated by their own desires, entirely grounded within the context of the world. These narrative decisions make the show chaotic and completely unpredictable, which is just one of the ways that The Boys is so much closer to reality, while still being completely off of the wall. The sense of having no idea what's going to happen next is also the main reason why Homelander
They
is such an
really have
effective-
no shame when it comes to showing, they did show the entire thing, the whole disgusting, because the thing is, celebrities are disgusting human beings as well. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying the way that, we have just seen the way that Homelander was, doing 2 seconds ago. So the disgusting things that celebrities do when they have the power to do whatever they want, this is what we see. And that's being shown in a really good way. And again, they are superheroes, so they're gonna be even above
a
them.
terrifying villain. When he's on screen, you've got every reason to be afraid.
Yeah.
He can switch from smiling to the cameras to murderous rage in an instant. He treats violence like nothing, lacking any empathy for his victims. In one scene, he takes the hearing away from a blind
I don't know.
superhero, dooming him to a life trapped in his own head. He does it just to prove a point, and because he finds it insulting that someone with a disability could be compared to him. Now, plenty of villains are violent at the drop of a hat, but with Homelander, there's absolutely no way to predict it. It helps that Anthony Starr's performance is one of the best we've seen in decades.
I
When we
think
see him
Anthony Starr being Homelander, I'm just gonna say this right now. I think it's better than Heath Ledger's Joker. I'm just gonna say it because Heath Ledger's Joker, you can clearly see where he's going, and I don't know. I think I'm putting myself into a completely bad zone right now by saying this. But I think I'm not gonna say that Heath Ledger's Joker doesn't feel genuine. He does, absolutely does. What I'm trying to say is that Anthony Starr's Homelander is, I think, I'm just gonna say it, much more terrifying and again, much more believable as well. But I like both Heath Ledger's Joker and Anthony Starr's Homelander. Generally, I think this is the one villain that actually makes me chills down my spine. This is the guy that always makes me fear what he's gonna do. And again, not in a very entertaining way either. Sometimes in an entertaining way, but some other ways I'm just genuinely uncomfortable. With Heath Ledger, whenever he's on the screen, I'm just like, be on the screen more. But with Homelander, it's like, can you just be a little bit far, please? Don't hurt these people, please just don't do that. Again, I never felt that with even Thanos, even villains like Darth Vader either. Like, I understand whenever they come in, they have an aura, and I, as the audience, I want to see them more instead of please get away from the screen kind of stuff. And that is the reason why I think Homelander is such a great character. Anthony Starr is just perfect for this.
Performing for the cameras, Anthony nails Homelander's wide smile combined with his completely dead eyes.
Oh, yeah.
His mastery of his expressions as a whole is really what seals the deal.
Yeah.
The scene where Homelander talks to his alter ego in a mirror is a masterclass. He
And
goes
this
through
is
the whole
definitely
range,
the Green
showcasing
Goblin
fear, anger,
reference
guilt,
from
and
Spider-Man
hatred,
1.
all in the space of a single minute.
And then, my boy, you can finally be who you were always meant to be.
It's this iconic performance that's thrust Homelander
Many
into the public
iconic
consciousness.
performances,
You can't go 5 minutes
plural.
online without seeing his face used in a meme or as a reaction. It serves to make Homelander that much more terrifying as the lives of the people around him completely depend on the unstable emotions that Anthony Starr portrays so well. When he's violent, it's often without any warning or build-up. At the end of the day though, any villain that
what?
can make the word well. When he's violent, it's often without any warning or build-up.
You are showing the exact same scene where there was actually kind of like a warning or build-up. Warning and build-up both. Because he was actually in this scene.
Stable emotions that Anthony Starr portrays so well. When he's violent, it's often without any warning or build-up.
I mean, when Queen Wave was just punching and kicking and doing all that stuff, Homelander did warn her many times.
At the end of the day though, any villain that can make
Because
the word
Ryan
yummers
was his
intimidating
main,
is something
thing.
special.
Yeah. Yummers. Guess you wanted to cram in as much fat fuck as possible, huh?
At the beginning, the performances were what made
But yeah,
them
in general,
the
he
job
is very
we know today.
unpredictable.
Without Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., the whole franchise would have had a hard time getting off of the ground. They're what catapulted it towards success. But most of the big names now have left, their stories have finished, and they probably won't be back. Many stars like Benedict Cumberbatch and Chris Hemsworth have found themselves shackled by poor scripts and loose motivations. The Boys has the advantage of multiple seasons and episodes.
Yeah, the script writers are the one, and the directors are the ones that are screwing them, man.
Never even came close to what
They don't
they've
deserve
achieved.
this.
Most of the time, they're everything Homelander isn't. Their motivations rarely make sense outside of moving the plot forward. Their plans are predictable and often stupid, nearly always devolving into a big fight.
I don't think it's stupid with Ultron. I mean, it's an algorithm which is able to look at the entire internet, and people in general are very negative towards people, right? If that makes sense. I mean, it should, because people are against people all the time on the internet. Again, they're saying the most disgusting things to other human beings as well. So that's the reason why I think when the robot, like, an AI like Ultron becomes a robot and basically sees the entire internet for a while, he was just like, oh, so human beings are the ones that are destroying nature. Why can't we just destroy them instead? So stuff like that.
They're simply just weaker than the hero in every way, and it means there's even less stakes, especially because we know they'll lose in the end. The unsubtle and one-dimensional writing in the MCU
that
mirrors
last part
what
was kind of
political
true.
commentary they do stuff in. Disney's attempts just pile more ammunition into the culture war. Little 10-second clips to show they're taking a side, a battle that can never be won because it's defined by its division. Issues then get absorbed by
Oh
the
my
war,
God.
turn into simplified yes or no questions, and then they get pitted against each
this
other.
was so
and
awful.
The Boys satirizes this through its treatment of the fans. They're clearly allegorical for modern political fanatics in today's societies. Homelander's fans are Trump supporters, Starlight's the Democrats, and like good satire, it pokes fun at both sides of the fence. But its greater point is that the whole thing is a farce to begin with. The Boys reduces the modern culture war down to what it really is: toxic fandoms. The people on either side aren't actually thinking about the issues, they're just rooting for their team. Both vast and powerful institutions in real life take advantage of this and promote it as much as they can. And if half the country is constantly at war with the other half, then it lets them keep everything exactly the same. It's another way they divert and redirect people's anger. Which is why it makes so much sense for the superheroes to stand in for the politicians. As just like the politicians, they're ludicrously powerful, but they have to make hollow speeches and they get paraded around for their cameras. The real power is in the money and the corporations.
Oh my God, this
involved in
guy
the
is
show.
so
It's ironic
good
that
at
the show that's
being
done
a
the most
villain.
to make this visible to people is completely owned and operated by Amazon, the picture child for monolithic mega corporations. The show never actually calls out or satirizes Amazon itself, although that doesn't mean it's just hypocrisy. Amazon probably didn't think it was going to be such a hit to begin with, and now that it's this popular, they can't interfere with it. There's unfortunately no other way the show could be made without some big money flowing in. It would be nice to imagine that Eric Kripke, the showrunner, got one over on Amazon by getting them to fund something which indirectly criticizes them, but the reality is probably less satisfying. The Boys is blowing away Marvel's idea of humor as well.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, I haven't seen Translucent around anywhere. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
Cunt's invisible. It could be standing in that fucking corner, plugging one out right now.
Instead of witty quips which take you out of the moment, the Boys
I
clips
mean,
into
witty
minimum.
quips do not take you out of the moment. It's just, it's true. But what I'm trying to say is that the witty quip thing is being overutilized. It's just overutilized. And it's everywhere. Even in a movie that I really like, Across the Spider-Verse, even in Across the Spider-Verse, there were just so much comedy. I was like, okay, everything is landing. It is funny, but it's way too much. Just my opinion, okay?
Mostly playing it deadpan. It's the situations that are funny, the characters themselves create the laughs. It's the kind of humor that adds to the story rather than making you feel like the characters are just taking it all as a joke. But if there's one thing Marvel's always been able to rely on, it's their ability to make a spectacle.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter if the plot and the dialogue suck, as long as the CGI is on point. That's half the battle for Marvel films. Which is why people like Martin Scorsese...
The spectacle thing is only because Marvel is such a big franchise right now, even more. So now people are not only limited towards comics, they're actually going more and more. So that's the reason why they're doing what they're doing. And the spectacle thing is obviously you have to ramp up. It's the same thing with video games as well. If your first video game was good, now it has to be better. I think the spectacle thing even if we talk about God of War, right? God of War 2018 had spectacle, but if you look at that compared to God of War Ragnarok, it's fucking Ragnarok. So obviously stakes have to be much higher. New enemies, there's that. It's not grounded anymore. That's the reason why people like God of War 2018 a little bit more than God of War Ragnarok, because God of War 2018 was actually much more grounded. But in Ragnarok, they just like flew up like instantly. You know what I mean?
Described this as the junk food of cinema. Recently, though, even the special effects have been slipping. Like the
It's
floating
nothing
head
wrong with having junk food. It's not like people don't like to eat junk food at all. But obviously, we need, and not only we deserve. I think the audience deserve very good comedy. And I mean, I think in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that was the last MCU movie that I watched. I did not watch Quantumania. I did not watch any of the live stream service, like none of these TV shows I've watched. Again, I've mentioned this. I've not watched even Moon Knight. So I have really been lackluster. I don't know anything about WandaVision. I don't really know much about like Quantumania, Eternals. All I know is that they were boring and they were really like terrible. Oh my god, Love and Thunder was trash.
Thor. The effects just don't have
So
the same
bad.
impact anymore. With absolutely everything.
Yes,
being
I
green screened
hated
in,
this
It's
movie.
really hard for any of it to seem like it's actually there. And of course, the boys as Marvel beat her. The
I love this
practical
fight.
effects are what makes
I love
it.
this
By
fight scene.
combining the same high level of special effects that Marvel has, with actual prosthetics and props underneath, makes it much more believable. If you want spectacle, the boys has it in spades. Of course, it's not competing for the cinematic experience, but it doesn't really need to. The boys has taken advantage of the shift in the audience. The MCU has been going on for 15 years. Lots of people who grew up with it are past adulthood. They're not looking for what the MCU has been doing for all that time.
I would make the argument they made Thor a dumbass. I just don't think it does the character justice.
Yeah.
It's a very see the joke, take the joke, regardless of what it does.
It doesn't work, but it only worked because of Ragnarok. And Taika Waititi was like, okay, and let's just turn it into 11-12. And there you go.
Kind of mentality.
Didn't really work
Netflix needed
at
to fill
all.
the gap, and shows like The Boys and Invincible have just done that. They actually grew with their audience. The MCU has done the opposite. The most recent Thor film and the upcoming Avengers film shows they're doubling down on keeping the kids
Oh,
happy.
this
And
was
in the
so
process,
bad.
they're alienating
I'm
the people who've
repeating
kept the
myself like a
franchise
broken
going
record,
for
but
so
still.
long. Whereas The Boys has already
I hate that
preempted
movie.
this with their commentary on child stars, and we can assume Ryan will play a big part in the next season. That new spin-off is already going in that direction. Marvel is going to keep giving them
I don't
plenty
know
of
about the
material. Not that
the this one.
that new
Yeah,
spin-off
this
is
spin-off, I don't really know how good it's gonna be. I mean, you should just end. The reason why the MCU is also failing or dying slowly, or fast in this case, I guess, not even slowly, fast. The thing is, they are just going on and on and on. They're not just keeping a lid and they're like, you know what? I think it's over. No, they're still going on.
already going in that direction. Marvel is
Yeah.
going to keep giving them plenty of material, not that they were lacking. And if you take a look at Marvel's recent movies, it's clear they're losing
Very.
their momentum. Other than Spider-Man, which has its own unique appeal, they haven't had any films hit the $1 billion mark since Endgame. Lots of them like Shang-Chi, Eternals, or the most recent Ant-Man haven't even got close to breaking even. Generic Marvel just doesn't do it anymore. The audience is tired of it. They've moved on and the
Tired
boys
of
was
bad
happy
writing, that's what. Not tired of superhero movies. Because if that's the case, then Across the Spider-Verse wouldn't have worked.
to pick up the slack. And by giving
We
people
love
better
good
writing,
writing, that's
actual
it. We
tension,
deserve.
and pushing the genre forward, The Boys is now killing Marvel.
Yeah. I think it was a good movie. I mean, Jesus Christ. I think this was a good video made by Moon. And I think I'm gonna react to more of his stuff because I kind of like his videos. So yeah, that's it. I don't think, yeah, the MCU. The MCU is a joke. I think I'm gonna get more videos like that, but I'm not gonna react to every single one. So anyway, yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I agree with this video. I think this video was really good. And I don't really know where the MCU is gonna go. To be honest with you, I'm very excited for the Marvels. Oh my god, it's gonna burn spectacularly. It's gonna be so ridiculous. But I want to see how bad the Marvels are gonna be. So yeah, see you.